everyone is distracted in this day and age. Every single person is distracted and they're not able to focus on their work. Their work suffers, the productivity suffers. Some may be distracted less than others, but everyone is distracted, right? And the question is, how do you overcome that? You're lucky because today we have a guest who is an expert in productivity and how to overcome distractions. So I have here today Sho Ishikura, an expert in productivity and overcoming distractions. So welcome to the Offset Accountant podcast.
Thanks for having me, Sushil.
So let's start, I think, from the beginning. What interested you or what made you intrigued in this journey where people are distracted and you wanted to study distraction and help others overcome their own distractions?
Yeah, it really started with my own personal journey because I feel like I, in particular, had a really difficult time with that. And that wasn't something that it wasn't something that was always there to like the extreme that it was, but it really kind of I noticed my ability to focus took an absolute nosedive during the pandemic, and I think that happened for a lot of people as well. As you know, you have more people working from home. We had a lot more opportunity to just be on our devices. And what happened with me was, actually my background is in music. And at the time, I'm currently a licensed therapist, but at the time I was kind of doing my training and I was in grad school. So what I was noticing was that my passion for playing and writing music is something I've always been able to lose myself in. My ability to focus was so bad at that point that I was completely unable to do any music. I was struggling to do my schoolwork, working, and I was able to do that because a lot of that work is kind of urgent and stuff like that. But I realized that I really needed to figure something out because if I wasn't, then my whole life was going to go by and all I'd have to show for it was looking at
Yeah.
social media and, looking at the news and articles and stuff like that, answering emails, which is like, that's not a life well lived. So I figured out over the years a whole bunch of different tools to help with that. I've completely fixed that for myself. And when I started working as a therapist, I started working with a bunch of working professionals that are kind of coming in saying that they have the exact same problems, right? It's like, I feel like I can't focus on anything. Everybody feels like maybe I have ADHD now. Like you hear that all the time, right? And what I'm positing is that a lot of the reason that people are feeling that and can't focus anymore has to do with the way that they're using technology. And a lot of what I'm trying to help with people with centers around that. And it's particularly prevalent for people that are working in offices or in a corporate environment. So I've helped a lot of my clients with that as a therapist, and now I'm trying to scale that up and help as many people as possible with that problem.
When you talked about COVID, during COVID, I also was working from home, right? And I was working, now I own my own accounting firm, but during COVID, I was associated with a different company, right?
Mhm.
And working from home, what happened is I started from 6 in the morning, and my work was also not finished 6 in the evening, right? So when I used to go to office, it was 10 to 5, 8 hours of work and done and dusted, and
Yep.
everything was in order. When COVID hit and when we were at our homes, there were a lot of distractions. There were digital distractions, but also family distractions as well. So what have you figured? Like you already said, technology has been one of the biggest impact in people's focus, right? What are some of the other things, or also including technology, what are some of those things that people find irresistible and that is hampering their focus?
Well, there's a lot of different things. I mean, like you said, there's technology, but then besides that, there's all the external triggers, right? You mentioned family, so you could be working from home, you could have uh, interruptions because of family. A lot of office environments, some of them you have interrupting coworkers coming in. I've heard about, in a sales type of environment, they actually,
Yeah.
when somebody will like hit a number or something, in the US, people will just kind of get
Mhm.
up and stop what they're doing. Everybody will get up, like ring a bell, start cheering, and then like the employees there are saying like, I have all this stuff to get done, and there's like people getting up and celebrating every 30 minutes, and I'm not able to get the work done. So that's kind of a distraction that's ingrained into the culture. But really, all of this boils down to multitasking and
Right.
context switching, which is, we're trying to focus on something where we have multiple tabs open, multiple screens, there's somebody talking to us. And every time that happens, we're losing productivity because to switch back to the original task you were focusing on, there's actually studies that show that it takes your neurons time to reassimilate back to the task at hand. And some studies, there's various studies on that are kind of have conflicting evidence on the effects of that. Some of them say that it takes 23 minutes for you to like fully recenter on the task at hand. And then others say that it doesn't take that long, but there is this kind of mounting sense of frustration and helplessness as that kind of
Mm.
occurs throughout the day. But either way, the diagnosis is not good. Multitasking, it kills it's either killing productivity or it's making you feel frustrated and like you're kind of spinning your wheels and not getting much done. And that's precisely the reason why when you started working from home, it went from 10 to 5 to like 6 to 6 because everything just takes longer. It's just drawn out. And so multitasking to me is like the big thing to kind of, or one of the biggest things to tackle. And it's also the thing that Gen Z and younger people specifically, they define themselves as multitaskers. So it's super prevalent and needs to be
Yeah.
addressed.
But I think there are also researches that say that there is nothing called multitasking. You cannot multitask.
Yeah, right. And people think that they can, but yeah, I mean, there's just so much research on it that's just it's just proven. It's like you're not multitasking. And I will give this though. There are certain types of things that you can do that you can kind of context switch more easily with, right? So if you're like, something that doesn't require a lot of deep focus, like just answering texting people, for instance, right? And responding to quick emails or texting somebody and like shopping for jeans. Like that's a type of multitasking. It's easier to do. But
Mhm.
something like writing a novel and answering emails at the same time, it's like writing a novel requires deep focus and deep concentration. And those things that require deep focus and concentration are exactly the things that are going to be so valuable in this age that we're entering with tons of AI and stuff, great new technologies that are going to be automating a lot of these things that are just more shallow work and are just easier to get done. But unfortunately, we're all kind of being steered towards just responding to urgent things like short-term thinking. So it's in our scrolling, in the way that we use social media and everything. So it's important to kind of capitalize on the human creativity and nurture that.
Right. So everyone is distracted, some more than others. And you said that you were also distracted to the point that you were not able to even get your music done, right? Music as a passion, if you are passionate about music, you go and you disappear into music. But even music was hard for you to focus. So that was quite a struggle for you. And you said that you have overcome your distractions and you have increased your productivity. What did you do to overcome those distractions for yourself?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that, with the music stuff, like in that time while I was in grad school, is like entered being like, I've always had, naturally, I'm a pretty, I guess, like artistically minded and like not organized and kind of scatterbrained. That's my personality, right? And so I
Yeah.
went into grad school being like, I love music, but I never like written the album and like gotten that done and like followed through and finished everything. Let me tell you what happened is like when I figured out these tools, I finished grad school, I wrote and recorded and produced an album by myself and released it on a reputable indie label while interning and working. So like this stuff really works. There was a lot of different things that I did because you were asking about what the tools are.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess I would say that the big thing that, for the people listening, the big thing I would say to start doing is to start treating your productivity and your focus as a process that you can iteratively improve on. So what I mean by
Right.
that is what I started doing was I would look at what I did during the day. When was I getting distracted? Why was I getting distracted? And I would, at the end of the week, I would look at all of that information because I would start tracking everything, right? And I would be like,
Yeah.
how do I improve on this? Why am I getting distracted? Where am I going wrong? And I'm just compiling data on myself and intentionally being like, how do I make this a little bit better for
Yeah.
the next week? And I've been doing that for 5 years now. And the difference in my ability to kind of just step into a flow state, just get things done, not miss appointments, be organized, show up on time, like all of that stuff has been addressed. And it's something it didn't happen overnight, but it was just I made the commitment to show up every single week and be like, how do I make this better? And that's
Right.
52 weeks in a year, year after year. You do the math on that.
So, like everyone else, I think I'm also, I would not just say distracted, but distraction has become an addiction for many of us, right? The biggest culprit would be your mobile phone. And when I'm working on focused on my work, in the back of my mind, what circulates or what is there in the back of my mind is there some message that has just come in? Maybe there's something that I need to check, or there's an email that I might need to send. So even if I put my mobile away, there's always a longing for it, for a lack of better word.
Hmm.
How can someone, you know, because it's become an addiction, and I would say that cell phone addiction has become akin to alcoholism as well. Alcoholism, I think, uh, for people, you have to wait for a certain period, certain time to go and get the dose
Yeah.
of your alcohol. But mobile phones, it's always there, present there, and it's an addiction. So how can we get the biggest distraction away from us, or how can we manage that?
Sushil, it's so cool that you mentioned that because actually, you asked me, like, how did I fix these things for myself? And actually, one of the major turning points for me was that in my training as a therapist, we had to do something called an abstinence/reduction exercise. And it was actually
Right.
something that's geared towards helping people that are struggling with substance abuse and alcoholism. And what we had to do was it was like a 6 week journey essentially, where we had to choose a substance or a behavior, abstain from it or reduce it. And then we had all these different journal prompts about like what we were going through as we were stopped using it. And for me, what I chose was my smartphone. And I said that every
Yeah.
morning I'm not going to use my smartphone for an hour, and before night, I'm not before bed, I'm not going to use it for an hour. And that's for me, that's like so easy now. I'm like not that tethered to my phone as I was, but back then, literally, I would wake up and I realized like, oh my God, I have so much anxiety. And I never knew that I had anxiety because I was constantly pacifying myself. The second I woke up, I'd grab my phone, I'd start scrolling and answering emails and looking at news and stuff like that. And I didn't realize how much it was affecting me.
Yeah.
So over time, there's there's also a very emotional journey to this stuff because there's always like a kind of an emotional component that is underlying addiction, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I was only really able to confront that and to feel it and to face with it and sit with it when I took the smartphone away. And I had a very kind of therapeutic experience. I think it was like in the fifth or sixth week, and it was almost like a spiritual experience where over those weeks I felt like the anxiety kind of getting worse and worse and worse, and eventually I was able to teach myself that I'm okay being with anxiety. I don't have to pacify it with my smartphone all the time. And
Yeah.
that's one of the key things that we're missing out on as a society is the ability to just sit with boredom and anxiety and
Yeah.
not erase it by pulling out a smartphone. That's actually
Mhm.
those little moments of anxiety and boredom that we used to just have all the time because we didn't have instant access to a smartphone. those little moments throughout the
Yeah.
day are cultivating an emotional resilience that we're being deprived of.
Right. So you are saying that we try and use smartphones because we are anxious, because of our inherent anxiety, or is it the smartphones are the problems of our anxiety? Are we looking towards the smartphone use as a coping mechanism from our anxiety, or is the smartphone bringing in anxiety? So what's going on?
I love that question because it's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing. Um,
Yeah.
the way that I think of it is that it's kind of both. It's like before smartphones, we turned to other things, right? And we still turn to other things. And that could be anything. It can be I'm anxious, so I exercise compulsively. Maybe that's an example. Or it's like I
Mhm.
turn to the bottle, I drink, right? I smoke. I'm constantly around people, right? The thing that's different about the smartphone is it's like there's zero barrier to it. It's like in our pockets at all times. With drinking, it's like you have to go to the store, you have to
Yeah.
spend money and buy alcohol, and then you have to like be drunk for like 2 hours. It's like
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a commitment. you know with a smart, there's no commitment. It's like you're just waiting in line. It's just like boom, I'm entertained.
Mm.
you know you're sitting on
Yeah.
the toilet, boom, you're entertained. It's like there's zero barrier. And so that's the thing that's different about it. It's this is the first time in human history that we've had access to it, and psychologically we don't know what to do with that. We're not prepared to
Yeah.
deal with that level of entertainment at all times. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the anxiety, it's always been there. Like we've always had ways to deal with it, but this is just too appealing. It's just so
Mm.
and there's just no barrier for entry.
And you talked about the things that help, right? You talked about assistance, and you also talked about recording what you do during the day and when you are distracted. What are some of the things that you could do to help with overcoming anxiety or overcoming distractions?
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand, I think. I think the big thing is that we need to cultivate a lot of intentionality with what we're doing and how we're moving throughout the day. For me, it's like if I'm leaving blocks of the day open where I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to be doing, it's very, very likely that I'm going to pull up YouTube and just get lost in like a YouTube black hole, because it's like I didn't set an intention for what I'm going to be doing with that time. There's also a piece of it where we need to cultivate intentionality about what's driving us towards distraction. So
Yeah.
if I'm working on a project for work and I don't know what exactly the next step is that I need to take, I might just switch over and start answering emails because those are very clear cut. There's no ambiguity. It's like I just answer the email, done, I'm fired off, I'm being productive all of a sudden. I feel like I'm being productive, but I'm not getting the real important project done, which is what I need to
Mm.
be getting done. So
Yeah.
my whole thing is like all of this tech, it's like it's so useful, but it's like for it to be useful, we need to be deciding to use it.
Yeah.
We don't want to be driven by our emotions to just all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I've been looking at YouTube for 40 minutes and I come to and I'm like, oh wow, I was supposed to be doing something completely different. That's to me, that's like the technology using you. So a lot of what I'm doing with people is like helping give them support, accountability, providing a space for reflection. And then, we all have the answers in us. Like once we sit down and face this stuff, like we can figure it out. Like, what do I need to do to change this?
Right, right. When I hear this, I think what you mean is you have to plan your day ahead, right? So when you are going into your work, you should be clear of what is expected of you, what the results you want to achieve in that certain day. So planning would be one of the biggest things that you could do to help, because it will also help you record or see after you have done the work where you were at when you planned and what you have actually achieved.
Absolutely. Planning is one of the big things. And I'll add to that, like planning when you're going to do the things that you tend to distract yourself with, because you need to do those
Hmm.
things, like answering
Yeah,
emails and responding to notifications. Like I would say plan your day, but then I'll just be intentional, be like, this is where this 30-minute block is going to be where I'm checking my phone and my social media. And then this hour block is where I'm going to be responding to emails, maybe even an hour block once in the morning and once at the end of the day. But the
Hmm.
point is like you want it to be your decision to do it.
Hmm.
You're deciding
Right.
to answer the emails. You're deciding to, it's not just because like you're distracting yourself from some anxious emotion that you have, or just because like you got a ping and it's like, boom. And now I'm on Instagram. Now I'm looking at, and now I'm shopping for jackets. Now I'm buying a jacket and getting it sent to my house. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you've been working with quite a lot of professionals, and I wanted to hear their story and how they were able to achieve, distraction-free, productive work, right, with your help. So would you want to share some of their own experiences? What was affecting them, how they were getting distracted, and after you working with them, what were the results that they were able to get?
Yeah, I'd love to. For example, that I had one client that was feeling like they were doing well in their job. Um, their superiors were kind of like really happy with the work that they were doing. They were kind of getting everything done. So like on the surface, to the leaders and the bosses, like this, my client, this employee just like looks like he's getting everything done. He's great, right? But I know what's happening behind the scenes. What's happening behind the scenes is that he's working from home. He's on call all the time. He's always on his laptop, ready to respond. And he's paranoid that
Yeah.
if he leaves his laptop for a little bit, that he's going to miss something, right? And he's feeling like extremely stressed out, having trouble relaxing after work. He's having problems in his marriage because he can't be present with his wife because he's so constantly like uh on alert mode, essentially, right? So this is what's happening, and a lot of leaders don't realize this. But what I did with this client was I was saying, look, um there's probably a different way for you to work where you're getting the same results, if not better, and it's going to be way less stressful. So we took all the work that he was doing and we just started creating a more deliberate plan. Like, when are you going to be at your computer responding to this? When are you going to be doing this more important type of work that requires a little bit more deep focus? When are you going to be taking a
Mhm.
break and stepping away from the computer and getting a little bit of exercise, because that makes you feel way better and way more present. It happened so quickly. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Very quickly he was like, wow, you know what? Like, I feel like I'm so much less stressed out. I feel so much better, and I feel like I'm actually doing better in my job. And
Right.
he actually, he was in sales and he started getting like a lot more. He started breaking in a lot more money, and also the amount of time he had to spend doing the work shrank so much because it's like
Yeah.
it was all intentional and deliberate instead of being like, I'm going to work on this a little bit. Oh, boom. I'm getting this notification from my manager about something that he's asking. Let me start doing that now. It's just such a fragmented multitasking way of working that is it's killing productivity. But the
Right.
leaders don't see it all the time.
Mhm. So you also work with accountants, right? And now tax season is, we are ready to go into tax season in the US,
Mhm.
at least. In Nepal, we just finished the tax season, and this is the time where the accountants or CPAs are at their busiest. So what would you suggest they can do that can be the low hanging fruit that they could do, and reduce stress to by quite a lot, so they do not have to do a lot of work there, but just a simple thing that they could do, and that would help them with the burden of work that is going to come their way now.
I understand that it's really hard at this time of year because of the pressure and like the flurry of kind of incoming work. It makes it hard to really sit down, analyze what is happening throughout your workday, and to kind of start implementing some of those more thoughtful changes, because it's like the work is constant at this time of year. But
Mm.
the one thing, just to answer your question about something that's kind of like low hanging fruit, I would say batching your tasks as much as you possibly can. So I like to tell clients to think of work in differentiate the types of work that you're doing, right? So like doing kind of stuff like answering emails or stuff that's like very kind of fast paced and
Mhm.
short term focused, or responding to
Yeah.
notifications and stuff like that. As much as possible, I would try to batch those things together. And then some of the stuff
Yeah.
that requires more deep focus, block that off, get that work done, and know that like you're stepping away a little bit. You're going to get as much of this done in this time as possible. Essentially, just do whatever you can to eliminate the multitasking by batching these different types of work, and
Right.
your brain will kind of like it'll acclimate to the type of work that you're doing. It's hard to do both at the same time.
Yeah. So no multitasking is what you are saying.
Yeah, that's the root of the message.
Yeah. So, and if someone wants to work with you, right, they want to bring that change in their life where they want to get rid of distractions, and it's not easy to get free of distractions on your own because your phone is always with you and your hand somehow goes into that pocket and you'll go and watch those the emails. You'll respond to your emails or go to social
Mhm.
media, and you do need someone to help you, a therapist or an expert like you. So if someone wants to reach out to you and work with you, where can they find you, and how can they do that?
Yeah, I love that you said that because it's hard to do this on your own without like accountability and support and a plan, right? Because it's similar to an addiction at this point, and everybody deals
Mhm.
with it. But yeah, if you want to reach out to me, my website is www.focused.ltd. You can reach out to me through there, and yeah, I'd love to hear from people that want to fix this problem. And also, specifically, I want to hear from people that want to fix this problem because a lot of people are just not aware that they're even distracted because it's just
Yeah.
so like everybody's operating like this now. And so
Hmm.
the people that are aware that there's something wrong and they want to fix it, like those are people I want to talk to.
Right.
Those are my people, you know? So
Hmm.
reach out to me. And even if it's not about working with me, I'd like to just help and provide resources and do whatever I
Right.
can, even if it's in a small way, you know?
I like what you said there, that a lot of us are distracted but do not understand that we are distracted. So we are operating on zombie mode, so going with the
Hmm.
flow. And but
Yes.
some of the people know that they are working in a zombie mode and they want to change. So that is the first thing that they should be doing, that they understand that they have a problem, and now this will go ahead and seek help, right? And also
Yes,
you are available
absolutely.
in LinkedIn, and I'll be sure to put all the links in the description. If someone wants to reach out and talk, we can do that. And so it was quite an insightful talk today. Thank you very much for helping, because you did give us some very low hanging fruits that we could do and implement right now, right? So after watching this, we could do some planning and we could not multitask. And there are a lot of things that we should do to get rid of distractions, but at least there are some things that we could go ahead and do already. So thank you very much for your help and for your talk. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Sushil. Thank you.